Finally, we are hearing that President Joe Biden is taking into consideration executive actions to bypass Congress, as we're seeing that legislation is not getting through, and we're hearing about abortion control, gun rights, stimulus provisions, stimulus checks, climate action, and assortment of different things. I'm going to get you caught up on the latest CISO, what just unfolded this weekend, so you know what's going on. This is your breaking news stimulus check update and stimulus package update. Biden promises strong executive actions after mentioned blows off the climate deal. And if you missed that video, I uploaded for you. I got you caught up as we heard that Senator Joe Manchin after hearing that 9.1% inflation rate, the CPI data coming out. He said we need to hit the brakes. We might just pass a standalone reconciliation bill for drug pricing. That is it. Everything else wipe out that original Build Back Better bill. They wanted to see if 10 trillion, 5 trillion, 6 trillion with multiple reoccurring stimulus checks, child tax credits, increases the social security, wiping out student loan debt. All of these provisions removed from the bill that is just now is what we heard from Manchin. And now we're hearing Biden say, well, we just might take into consideration some executive actions here. You guys take a look at this. Biden pledges executive actions after Joe Manchin scrubbers the climate agenda. Biden says that he will take executive action to address climate change should Congress fail to act. The Democratic Senator Joe Manchin suggested that he may seek a spending bill with climate change provisions. And take a look at this. First on CNN, congressional progressives, they introduced 10 executive actions related to abortion access, pressuring Biden to do more. So there is a lot coming on the table right now. We've also heard that under consideration is fourth federal level stimulus checks. We're hearing about gas stimulus checks, inflation stimulus checks if we hit a recession. As we're hearing that they might add to the debt a little bit, but they're going to be helping out people so much more. A lot of economists are saying it is time for a fourth federal level stimulus check in also. Keeping you up to date on all the checks on all levels. We had another state stimulus check to go out of $2,000. You got to apply for it. And if you miss them, you just miss out. The money goes back to the federal government and it's too late. It would be nice if everybody could just get this. But unfortunately, that's not the way we have it set up, and a lot of people are missing out. But with that being said, you guys, let's go ahead and dive right in and get you caught up on the latest coming out in these articles about President Joe Biden bypassing Congress and all the legislative procedures to just get things done through executive actions. Alright, so let's dive right in. A lot has been unfolding this weekend, and this actually happened Friday evening. This came out, so I'm gonna catch you caught up. Link in the description below. This is from The Guardian, and it says Biden pledges executive action after Joe Manchin scrubbers climate agenda. Now it reads that Joe Biden has promised executive actions on climate change after Joe Manchin, the Democratic senator who has repeatedly fought his own party while making millions in the coal industry, while taking a shot at him saying he's got his own personal interests. Let me know your thoughts. He refused to support more funding for climate action. Now, in another blow to Democrats ahead of the midterm elections, the West Virginia senator also came out against tax raises for the wealthy, and as they mentioned, midterm elections are this year. They are coming here very soon. A Democrat, they're not looking so good in the polls, and neither is President Biden. And they're saying we have got to get things done before these elections, otherwise we're going to lose control in Congress. And that is why it is very likely there's going to be a whole lot more getting pushed through here very soon. Now reading on, it says Manchin opposition became clear on Thursday night on Friday with Biden and Saudi Arabia. The White House issued a statement. Biden said action on climate change and clean energy remains more urgent than ever. So let me be clear, if the Senate will not move to tackle this climate crisis and strengthen our domestic clean energy industry, I will take strong executive action to meet this moment. My actions will create jobs, improve our energy security, bolster domestic manufacturing and supply chains, protect us from oil and gas price hikes in the future, and addressing climate change. I will not back down. The opportunity to create jobs and build a clean energy future is too important to relent. Biden and Democrats hope to include environmental measures in the $1 trillion version of the $2 trillion Build Back Better spending bill. That mention killed last year in dramatic fashion now. Then the Biden White House angrily accused Manchin and breaching commitments to the president and his colleagues in the House and in the Senate. Bridges were rebuilt, but on Thursday night, Manchin appeared to reach for the dynamite, once again blowing the negotiations were here. Now we're gonna be hearing from Manchin here in just a second. According to the Democrats briefed on negotiations, Manchin told Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, that he was opposed to the legislation if it included climate or green energy provisions or higher taxes on the rich and corporations, which is pretty much almost all that the bill is at this point. Now, Democrats also said that Manchin told Schumer that he would support a new spending package only if it was limited to curbing pharmaceutical prices and extending federal subsidies for buying health care insurance. Manchin distributed versions of events in a call to the West Virginia radio show. He said that he told Schumer that he would not commit to the environmental or tax measures until he saw the inflation rate for July, which is due out on the 10th of August. So he is pushing this out another month and the size of the expected interest rate hikes for the Federal Reserve at the end of July. Let's wait until that comes out to add more to inflation. Manchin said I can't make the decision on taxes and also the energy and the climate because it takes the taxes to pay for the investment into the clean technology that I'm in favor of. He took that as I know. I guess he came out with these big things last night and I don't know why they did. As Steve Manchin said, been negotiated in good faith. Biden said, I didn't negotiate with Joe Manchin. In his earlier statement, Biden also promised progress on health care, he said after decades of his opposition from powerful special interests. Democrats have to come together, beating back the pharmaceutical industry, and are preparing to give Medicare the power to negotiate lower drug prices and to prevent an increase in health insurance premiums for millions of families with coverage under the Affordable Care Act. Families all over the nation will sleep easier if Congress takes action. The Senate should move forward, pass it before the August recess, and get it to my desk so I can sign it. Now that is currently where things stand. And it says in order to pass this legislation, Democrats are dependent on Senator Joe Manchin's vote in the Senate, which is divided 50-50 and is controlled by Vice President Kamala Harris. So if they had 50 votes, she would be the tie-breaking vote and they could pass it through that process of reconciliation. But they've got to get Senator Joe Manchin on board. Now, if they can't do it that way, the traditional means is 60 votes or executive action, which we're hearing is now on the table for consideration as things seem to be falling apart with this Build Back Better bill.